You know, Cartoon Network is a program that means a lot to me. This one network has created so many TV shows that helped to shape me into the man I've become today, with stuff like Ben 10, Regular Show, and The Amazing World of Gumball being just some of my personal favourites. But during my time watching the network, it was going through a lot of major changes. Tons of shows were slowing down to eventually being cancelled, and newer shows were coming along to fill in that empty space. And one of these shows was Steven Universe. Steven Universe was something that I was not all that interested in when it was starting out. To me, it simply put wasn't something I found particularly interesting, so I never made it past the first 10 episodes as a kid. But as time went on, this show that I had no care for managed to get popular. Really popular. So popular it was on air for 6 years straight with many episodes, seasons, and even a full-length movie. I swear, this show managed to dominate the network for the longest time, and to me at least, I didn't really understand why. And what added to my confusion years later was this show's reputation online, with it going from beloved to one of the most hated series on the internet. This drastic change in opinion certainly got my attention, so after years of avoiding it, I decided to finally watch the full series from start to finish, to see what it was that caused such an impact in the cartoon space. And seeing as they just announced a new spin-off to the series, now is probably the best time to talk about it again. Because I have one question on my mind. Was the Steven Universe hate justified? Let's take a look. Now, if you're at all familiar with my channel, you'd know that I'm no stranger to covering controversial cartoons, so I feel like if anyone were to give a fair assessment on the matter, it would be me, since I've seen the highs and lows of many other series, plus I have no emotional attachment to Steven Universe, so no bias will be here. But what is Steven Universe even about? Well, from my experience, Steven Universe is a series that follows Steven and his family, that being his dad and the Crystal Gems, who all work and grow together in order to keep the Earth safe, and to uncover the truth about the past in order to put an end to an intergalactic war. I know I made that seem very simple, but trust me, it's anything but. With something I instantly noticed about the show being how, despite its limited time, each episode of the series had managed to do a lot despite the short amount of time they were given, with a healthy balance of episodes that are more story-driven or one-offs in order to keep things fresh. I swear, so much happens, it feels like it takes longer than it actually does to get through it all. And while the pace doesn't always work, as you can imagine, after all, there are so many episodes, so not all of them are gonna work, but for the most part, it works just fine. However, something that really surprised me about the show was just how mature it was. Yeah, a story about a kid with a magical crystal in his belly button is not only surprisingly complicated, but holds a lot of emotional baggage. While I'm not going to act like it's Shakespeare, it almost gave me whiplash how much of a difference in tone Season 1 was to the rest of the series, with it initially being your typical Monster of the Week goofy format, to eventually covering themes of identity, self-worth, abuse, and much more. And it was here where I began to see why this show might have the reputation it does. Because a lot of these themes covered here are some very serious ones, and while they're not exactly spelled out, the intent is definitely evident. Like, these are themes you'd expect to see in something like Adult Swim, not a kid's cartoon. So it doesn't always handle them with grace, as some things can be a bit poorly handled or even messy at times when it comes to the characters, as the show is not afraid to make the viewers feel uncomfortable about what's going on. So I can see why there might be a lot of discourse around these certain elements, but if I'm being totally honest, for myself, I feel like most of it was handled really well. A lot of heavy themes are thrown in, and when Steven Universe does it right, it absolutely nails it. With my personal favourite being the end of Futures, where Steven turns into a monster. I myself suffered with a lot of the issues Steven was faced here, and I feel they handled that topic in a way that not only did it justice, but made it easy to understand. And if anything, that's probably why this show has so many defenders, despite the amount of hate it gets. These themes aren't always going to resonate with everyone, but to the people it does, it's something incredible. As not only do you feel represented, but represented in a way that feels genuine rather than preachy. Because they could have so easily turned these themes into lectures, but they didn't. They brought a lot of respect to its viewers and made sure to give them a voice. So while a lot of the themes here may not resonate with everyone, heck, there were a few that I couldn't relate to, in my opinion, I feel like Steven Universe did these things much better than most shows would. And that's mainly because this show feels very genuine. With a lot of shows out there being made nowadays, it can feel like run-of-the-mill, cookie-cutter slop, but Steven Universe had a lot of care and respect into it, from its writing to even its animation, which looks beyond gorgeous. I swear, this show still looks phenomenal despite the age of it. It truly felt inspired and cared for, which was something very incredible to see, especially knowing how much of a risk it was at the time. Because one thing you gotta give Steven Universe credit for, regardless of your stance on it, is the balls it had. To have a bold art style, as well as mainly be a musical with a lot of untouched subjects at the time, this show really was a bold first step that redefined what cartoons were capable of. Although, saying that, it's not entirely perfect. As I said, this show has a lot of things going on, so it can mess up quite a bit, such as with the plot. Certain story arcs and plot points often get handled inconsistently, with some spanning plenty of episodes than they should, and others not taking enough time. Like the Diamond Saga, for a conflict to be built up for so long and mean so much to the characters to be quickly wrapped up in only a few minutes feels kinda off. Not to mention the characters, there's a lot of them here, and I really like some of them, but there's also some characters that, to me at least, just didn't hold the same standard as they should have. And this is practically inevitable when you have so many characters in one show. They can often get overlooked and underdeveloped. Not every character works as well as they should here, and even some of the better ones can be a bit off at times. And while I can see what it was trying to do, it ultimately just ends up feeling rather messy and unorganized at times. But ultimately, there was something I realized while watching this show that I couldn't get over. That being, it simply wasn't for me. I enjoyed a lot of the elements of the show, and even loved some of the characters. Garnet especially was my absolute favourite. But the fact of the matter is, this show was not made for me. And you know, that's completely fine. Not every TV show has to cater to everyone. If a show could do that, it's golden, but Steven Universe definitely knew what audience it wanted to target and stuck by it. So I can't really blame it for that. So, if I had to describe my overall outlook on the series, it would probably be a casual one. Not really a fan like a lot of other people, but I'll check it out if it does something new. But, after going over the entire series finally, I have to ask again, was the Steven Universe hate justified? Well, as a objective TV show, I'd say no. While it's not perfect, I've seen people describe this series like it killed their mother, and in my humble opinion, I feel that's unfair. It's no masterpiece, but like Steven himself, it's a flawed gem, and that's completely fine. Steven Universe was a show that has been getting a lot of hate over the years, so if you take anything away from this video, then take this. Give it a chance before you hate on it. It at least deserves to have a chance. And who knows, you might just end up finding a true diamond in the rough. But, what do you guys think? Are you a fan of Steven Universe, or did you not get into it? I'm very interested to see what your experience with the show was. And peeps, if you want to see me cover any more Cartoon Network shows, then be sure to comment down below what I should cover next. The top comment just might be turned into a video. And with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here, and I will see you all next time.